And I'm like, okay, guys, let's go. So we went with this lady, the one that used to be yelling, who's now, like, helping us. And we're like, okay, let's give assists. So there was a row of beds, right? Because people had just been evacuated from the hospital because the day before there had been a 6.1 earthquake. And everyone's laying out on the sidewalk in their hospital beds or on mattresses on the floor. And inside the little park inside the hospital's like a big compound. So they were laying inside the park in beds, strewn about. Like wherever bed could fit, it was kind of chucked there, like sideways. Like nothing was coordinated or organized anyway whatsoever. And the only thing that would cover them up were sheets hanging from trees. So I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's start giving assists. Let's find out what's needed and wanted here, right? Because the place looked pretty chaotic. We didn't even know where to start, right? And there's doctors running everywhere, people laying everywhere, just kind of like looking confused. There wasn't chaos in the sense that people were running around screaming. It was chaos in the sense of confusion, like walking into a building that just blew up, things laying everywhere. You're like, where do I start, you know? Which person do I help? So we had people in charge of ICU, people in charge of food, people in charge of helping in the radiology area, a guy in charge of our tack shop, like our little canteen, making sure that everybody, his name was Judd, really awesome guy from LA. He kept us all hydrated, well-fed. If we needed to rest, we just went and sat in the little like canteen area with him, and we had all our food set up in there, and if anyone was hungry or needed hand sanitizer or needed new gloves, because you always had to have gloves on, always. So you went and changed your gloves, put hand sanitizer on, and then put the new gloves on. All day long. I must have changed gloves like 14, 15 times a day. We would use a whole box of gloves every day for our team. And lots of hand sanitizer. And then we also had people in charge of moving, like actually moving bodies around. Like, okay, this patient needs to go to radiology, this patient needs to be transferred to ICU, this patient needs to go to pre-op, post-op, whatever. And we would do that. And then we had girls in the maternity area that were actually delivering babies, which was really incredible. And what else did we have? We had the all-hands team that was very random all the time. So those were the basic things that we did all day long, every day. And then Nicole started being in charge of delivering water, because no water was being delivered. There was actually a room we discovered in the radiology department, talk about random, where you walk in, like you open the door, and there's literally a pile twice as tall as me, and I'm 5'5", just for the record, twice as tall as me, of water bags. Like bags of water, like a just giant plastic bag with little plastic water bags inside. And each bag had 90 little bags inside, right? So 90 bags per each big bag, and the whole room up to the ceiling with water, and there's people outside dying of dehydration. So talk about lack of organization and lack of hands-on activity. A lot of people were just kind of moping around because they didn't even know what to do. What are you going to do? Like, you know, pick up one dead body or pick up another. You just didn't even know what to do. So we found that room, and Nicole basically took the lead on that and started delivering water, and everybody just kind of grabbed a bag. It was like an all hands, and we just started delivering massive amounts of water to everybody, because there were no water taps. There was nothing. There was no water. So people were dying of dehydration and malnutrition, not because of them getting a leg amputated. They were dying because of, you know, being hot in the sun, laying under a freaking tree after they just got their arm amputated. The radiology department was a big chaos, and there were a lot of people that needed, you know, x-rays, because most of the things that happened to these people were broken bones, broken legs, broken arms, broken back, broken this, broken that. So everybody needed an x-ray for the most part. It was the most popular area of the hospital. And there were 2 x-ray machines, but only 1 x-ray technician. So there was a huge line, and it was one of those odd manual things that you had to like open up, stick the thing in, close it up, put the person on the bed. So we ended up getting into the x-ray area and being in charge of helping control who got in and who got out, like what patient needed what, reading it, seeing the doctor chart, which, doctor chart, nothing like in the U.S. The doctor chart was a piece of paper that looked like this, right? Something along these lines that had one doctor's name, like broken hip fracture, blah, and then right below, like 2 days later, another doctor, broken this, and then there were like 5 different doctors that had written different things on this and had given different medication, and it was terrible. Anyway, so you had to decipher what the heck this thing said, and then send him in with the x-ray technician, and our VMs would actually carry the patient and put him on the bed that was where the x-ray was taken, right? So we were in charge of doing that and in charge of letting people in and out of the x-ray area, and then we worked with the x-ray technician to do it as smoothly as possible, because when you've got 50 people waiting and some of them are in extreme agony, it can get a little nuts. The very next day, a really nice lady with red hair, which I totally forget her name, she spoke to Dr. Brown, one of the lead doctors there, and asked him if he needed any help with something. And he was like, yes, I need volunteers. I need lots of volunteers in ICU. So give me as many volunteers as you can. And she was like, okay, we can give you 5 volunteers in the daytime and volunteers at night if you needed to. And so I was like, okay, good. So let me get those volunteers for you. So she told me, and then I went and got volunteers. The ICU is divided into 4 sections. It was ortho, miscellaneous, trauma, and post-operation, I think, or yeah, I believe so. So it was 4. And then like airborne diseases or something like that. Crazy. So it was divided into 4 units, and it really was so bad looking in there. It was the only building in the whole hospital, besides the operation rooms, that was still inside. They weren't outside. So the building was dark. It was gloomy. There weren't lights. The beds were literally like put into these rooms in between these big pillars of like cement, and the walls, you could tell they had been painted like 30 years ago. There was no water system in any of the wards, so you had to leave the hospital and go outside to find water. Even dialysis didn't have water. Just imagine. It was terrible. So 5 VMs went in there and were in charge of each one of those areas, and they did everything from changing beds to giving the patients their medications, feeding patients, giving water to patients. There was a super sweet lady who was literally, she arrived and she was dying of dehydration. That's what was happening with her. So when she arrived, I saw her. She was like a little raisin. She was all like little and very old. And the VMs and I especially helped that lady because I thought she was very cute. We worked like feeding her a lot, like scoops and scoops, just standing there and mouth feeding her, you know, and giving her water. She would drink lots of water. And at first she couldn't even sit up. And after a few days, I was feeding her, and she just sat up all by herself and just kind of like looked around. And it was amazing to see this lady sit up when you saw her first like a raisin about to die. And now here she is sitting up, and I was feeding her, and I was like, I wonder if she can feed herself now. She's sitting up alone, right? So I hand her the little MRE bag and the fork, and I'm like, okay, you know, bon appetit. And she started feeding herself. I like almost started crying watching this lady feed herself when she was about to die when I met her. So that was a really amazing moment in ICU. And thanks to the help of all the Italian team from Florida, wow, they were just incredible. Like anything the doctor said that they needed, like